The Bible says there are two reports which report what you believe in Isaiah. Whose report are you going to believe? Who here believes the word of God is true? Most of you. Okay. If you believe that the word of God is true, then you believe that in the Garden of Eden, man died spiritually, right? Jesus was there, God the Father was there, God the Holy Spirit was there. And they lived together, man or in your mother's womb. Jesus there, Father's there, Holy Spirit's there, imparting life into you. Right? Giving you life. You all believe that? Mm-hmm. Which means that you're not of this earth. Right? You're conceived in heaven. And God brought you down here and conceived life into you, imparted part of Himself into you. Because in the beginning there was nothing. There was God. And the Spirit hovered over the deep. There was nothing. God spoke what we see into existence and what we don't see. All the elements were spoken into existence by God because they are conducive for man to live. Right? Do you believe that? Are we all on the same path? Mm-hmm. So we believe that God can't lie. Mm-hmm. Right? All believe that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So then, if God says to you that something happened in the Garden of Eden and you died spiritually, I had to pull out because sin was there and I'm a holy God, I can't believe sin. That means you've been operating in 2 dimensions because you are a spirit that has a soul and lives in a body. Make sense? So you've been operating in 2 dimensions, but you're actually a 3-dimensional being. The soul and the body is the flesh and the mind. Your mind, your will, your emotions, and your flesh. That's the soul and the body. But God is spirit. So God had to pull out and you've been cut off from God. So Jesus had to come to reconcile us, to make us back to what we were originally meant to be, operating in 3 dimensions. Because the spirit is eternal. The flesh dies. Okay? What is the soul? The soul is the go-between between the spirit realm and the fleshly realm. Okay? Are we all okay with us? Amen. All make sense? So why do we, who have now received the Spirit of God and been reborn, the Spirit of God lives back in us, not tap into the Spirit because the Spirit is eternal God? We're still believing the report of our Lord, who's defining us and telling us what we should be like in the flesh. And the flesh is passing away, so Satan loves it that you sow into your flesh. Because what you're going to sow to, the Bible teaches us, you sow to your flesh, you'll reap from the flesh corruption. It's going to corrupt and die. Not eternal. We've got to have a mind shift. We've now received the Spirit of God. We are now, according to the Bible, sons of God. But we're still acting in our 2-dimensional capacity because we've been brought up that way. When's it going to stop? When's it going to stop? Why would I give you a gift and you take it and put it on the shelf and let dust gather on it and not use the gift that I've died for to give you? Like sheep, we've all gone astray. So Isaiah asks, whose report are you going to believe? Are you going to believe what the world tells you? Or are you going to start, you say you believe what God says, but are you going to start, if you believe, you're going to start doing. You're going to start being. Isn't it? So we're standing with one foot in the past and one foot in the future. And we keep referring to our basis of where we made our decisions in the past, instead of looking to the future. We can't drag our past with us, because the past is corrupt and dead. There's nothing you can do about your past. That's exactly what it is, history. So whose report do you believe is the question? You must ask yourself tonight. My servant's name is authenticated by God. It can keep you all night. He loves it. Alright, you all are John 1:4. I'm reading from verse 1. It says there, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word, capital W, was with God, and the Word was God. He was God in the beginning. Alright, so the Bible refers to the Word is Jesus, pre-incarnate, before he came in the flesh. He was called the Word. Alright? Called Christophany if you want to get all technical now. Okay? That's Jesus. Okay. Through him, all things were made, and without him, nothing is made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. What is he saying? He is saying that in the beginning, God was in man, and man was in God. How it's supposed to have been. Right? And he died spiritually in the Garden of Eden. Alright? Then darkness fell on him. He couldn't comprehend spiritual stuff because you can't comprehend it with your head and with your flesh. You can't understand the spirit world because the spirit world is not seen. The spirit world is only attained through belief or faith. Okay? So it's impossible to understand it in the two dimensions that we're in. And so ons het aangebonde, man. In our two-dimensional cleverness, if I can put it. I was very clever, especially when I was a teenager. Very clever. I thought I knew everything. So he's saying there's darkness, and I am the light. In other words, only if I come, and I come in my spirit, and I live in your heart, and you tap into me, can you start seeing the reality of eternity. They say, this is scientists, they say, probably that guy Google. You know that guy Google, he's very clever. They say that the scene, what you can see in the world, and what we know of the elements and that kind of thing, only makes up 10% of the reality of creation. 10%. Right? Then they say the cleverest guy in the world, who's that guy, that crippled guy?
Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. They say that guy uses about 8% of his brain capacity. That's his soul. Not even his spirit. His soul capacity. And he's the cleverest guy. So how clever can you be if you're using 8% of your 10%? That's 18 out of 200. There's a whole true world out there that Satan is keeping our eyes over here, that we can't see there, that we can't tap into the Lord. Because if we tap into here, this is passing away. In eternity, it's a little blip on the line that runs from that wall to that wall. It's a pinprick on the line. And if you can keep you concentrating on that pinprick, that's all you're going to receive. And I'm talking to anybody. Cool. Thank you, Lord. So in him was life. Without life, there can be nothing. In other words, God came and he spoke a word, Jesus Christ, on the breath, which is the Holy Spirit, and brought from himself creation. In this realm, he made a whole new realm. You see how you make a realm? Let me just put it this way, so that we can understand a little bit. Yeah, because I'm definitely not by the 8% of organs. I'm pulling you about 0.05. God makes sun and moon and planets to spin in a certain way, so that there's an illusion that there's light and day, day and night. In eternity, there's no day and night. He makes a whole new realm of reality through His wisdom and understanding and by His power. Because if you don't have the sun and the moon and the earth spinning just at the right angle, you don't get day and night, and you don't get seasons, winters, etc., etc., because those things don't exist in the spiritual. Or not that I know of. I wouldn't think in eternity. Wouldn't matter, because where God is, there's light. You see what I'm saying? Are you getting something? Yes. So God created this whole new realm, this whole new level, if I can put it that way, to glorify Himself so that people will see man who is made in His image and likeness. God lives in him, he lives in God, and he is the physical resemblance of God on the earth. So when people in the physical come and check, they say, wow, a whole new realm. And yes, God, He created it. So we become His image and likeness on earth. That's what He created us to be. Makes sense? Yes, so we miss it quite a bit, right? We miss it quite a bit. John 10 verse 7. In the note. 10 verse 7 to 11 says, therefore Jesus said again, I tell you the truth. I am the gate for the sheep. So what He's saying is, because man has fallen and is now walking in 2 dimensions out of his 3, he's only firing on 2 cylinders maybe. Last one day. And the grootste cylinder is there. So hey, it sounds like a 2-stroke. Okay? He says, I have to come and I am going to be the gateway. I'm going to become man's son, so that I'm right with God again and I make it a gateway back to God so it can be like He was supposed to be. Yeah? Yes. Make sense? Yes. Very simple way of putting it. So He says, I tell you the truth. I am the gate for the sheep. All who ever came before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. He will come in and go out and find pasture, and the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that you can have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Now, if you don't know anything about the spiritual, that will sound like a load to you, isn't it? What time the sheep and what time a gate to isn't it? But is it making more sense now? Why the necessity of Jesus that you had to come so that you can get your 3rd cylinder back? Yeah. Okay, so we said we believe Him. Do we believe this?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're going to believe this, are we going to believe the rest of what He says?
Yeah.
This is the question. Because there's belief in your soul, your 2nd cylinder, and there's belief in your spirit. Because if you believe in your spirit, you're going to start walking it. You're going to start being what He says you are. Isn't it? Not just believe it and then carry on being the king of your own life, sitting on your own throne. Isn't it? Now you're going to start tapping into the Lord. Because if He knows what the future is, He knows why He created you, He knows what talents He's put in you, He knows what He wants you to do that's going to make you fulfilled and happy and complete. Have love, joy, peace, and not need any substance. Any substance will actually bring you down when you're high in the Holy Spirit. If you're going to know those things, then you're going to start having to. He says, We are the bride of Christ, isn't it? We married to Christ. How much time are you spending with your wife? How intimate are you with your wife? Marriage is an example of what your relationship is supposed to be in the spirit realm. Like we come from one flesh, we're supposed to be one spirit. So whatever Jesus did on earth, he said, I only do what I see my Father do. Right? Because they are one in spirit. They're not one person. They are one person. And we are supposed to become one person now with God as one. And then would you find your Galatians 5:22 growing? Love, joy, peace, faithfulness, goodness, patience, kindness, endurance. Only then are you going to start knowing that you are accepted. I don't need to perform to impress my dad. I need to reflect my dad. To perform, to get in somebody's good book, what a bummer. What a bummer, because you never ever achieve it. The bar is up there, and you can only look at it. And always feel like a failure and a reject, because it's just a cycle of choose the limits. You're never going to find fulfillment unless you tap into your Creator. Unless you allow your Creator to stop going with you. Amen? Amen. Right, next slide. Romans 12, 1-2. Romans 12, verse 1 and 2. You know this one very well by now, eh? Yeah. Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. What is the pattern of this world? Walking in two cylinders. Walking in the soul, in your cleverness, your own intellect, and in what your fleshly desires are. How does that work? That works that you get a guy who rides a nice brand new Jaguar, what's it? X6, what? Whatever. I love those letters and numbers. Who is pulling in to Hillbrow at 3 in the morning to see if there's any young boys about. That is walking in your intellect and in your flesh, driven by your lusts. Very clever. President of a bank, but cannot contain the lust of his flesh. There is no fulfillment there. There is only temporary pleasure of the flesh. And the excitement of having to do it. Nobody catches it. Don't conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is. That He's good and pleasing and perfect in everything that He wants. Whose report are you going to believe? This report. Because hearing must have a substance to it. If there's any faith to what you're believing, it must have some substance to it. It must have some doing to it. It must have some repenting or stopping doing that or starting doing that. There must be something to it. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing here? I'm just telling you like a story that tickles your ears and makes no change in your heart. This word is powerful because this word will change your whole life.
Amen.
It will change your outlook. It will make you see what's actually happening. Because there's a spirit here in the world. And it says the whole world is under the sway of the wicked one. And has a mind-blinding spirit. Don't hear that kind of preaching from pulpit as much. A mind-blinding spirit. Hmm? 36, 34, 36. I'll be accepted. I know that 28s are some gang wild. I also know 28 is that woman's dream. A size 28. But then I'll be accepted. Becomes wild. Mind-blinding spirit. God made you perfectly just as you are. And He loves you just as you are. Whose report you can believe? Whose report you can believe? Alright, James 1:22, I'm going to read from the mirror because it's a very, very deep that song that we were singing, Let Incense Arise, you know what they're talking about? Incense is the praise of the saints to God, sweet smelling aroma. Praise. Let it rise night and day, prayer. Most powerful thing in the world, releases the power of God. Amen. Alright, I'm reading the mirror, James 1:22 to 25. Right, it says that give the word your undivided attention. Do not underestimate yourself. Make the calculation. There can only be one logical conclusion. Your authentic origin is mirrored in the word. Your authentic, who you are, is here. Not what your teacher told you, not what Hollywood tells you, not what kind of car you drive, not what kind of clothes you wear. In fact, there is a scripture that says, also in James, I think it's in James 3, that if you judge a person by his outward appearance, that is sin. Because what you are doing is bringing condemnation and judgment on them. And that is not from God. All right. There can only be one logical conclusion. Your authentic origin is mirrored in the word. You are God's poem. Let His voice make poetry of your life. In other words, listen to what God says, not what the world says. Because God is eternal, the world is not. The difference between a mere spectator and a participator is that both of them hear the same voice and perceive in its message the face of their own Genesis reflected as in a mirror. Both of them hear what I'm saying here tonight, right? That you are sons of God and daughters of God. But they realize that they're looking at themselves, but for the one, it seems just too good to be true. And this person departs back to the old way of seeing himself and immediately forgets what manner of person he is, never giving another thought to the one he saw there in the mirror. So here's what I'm saying. But he goes back and just carries on that way. Okay? The other one is mesmerized by what he sees. He's captivated by the effect of a law that frees a person from the obligation to the old written code that restricted one to their own efforts and their own willpower. No distraction or contradiction can dim the impact of what is seen in the mirror concerning the law of perfect liberty, the law of faith, that now frees everyone to get on with the act of living the life of their original design. They find a new spontaneous lifestyle of poetry or practical living. Amen. Powerful. Powerful. So there's two people. One looks at the truth and believes the worldly report, or is quite happy to settle with, I'll just live my life and one day pie in the sky, one day when I die, ek en maar of going to heaven. Heaven is here, right now. If God is living in you, heaven is now, isn't it? What difference is that going to make in your life if you're waiting for the one day pie in the sky? You're still going to live your life here in defeat, in pain, in sorrow, in hardship, in trying to work your way into everybody's good books, in trying to impress everybody, in pride, in arrogance, in hatred. I don't want to live there anymore. I don't have to live there anymore. The same power that raised Jesus from the grave. They said he's what he was. It's sitting here in me. The same power. I'm going to tap into the power and I'm going to walk it. Amen. Because that's what Jesus died for. So that I can have it. I don't care what the world can look at me as a loser. You check the Hollywood depiction of pastors then. They're always these small little guys with little round glasses and a little collar and a little weak dude. It's a lie. It's a lie. Who's behind the Hollywood? Not Holly. Not Holly, the word. Right, Psalm 82, 1 to 8, just listen to this. Yeah. This almost verges on blasphemy. Amen. Maybe two, eh? Amen. Oh, this was a very blunt sword. Brand new. Don't know it very well. Alright, God resides in the great assembly, right, in heaven. He gives judgment among the gods. How long will you defend the unjust and show partiality to the wicked? Defend the cause of the weak and fatherless, maintain the rights of the poor and oppressed, rescue the weak and needy, deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Who's he talking to? Talking to? God. Right. He says in verse 6, I said, you are gods. You are all sons of the Most High, but you will die like mere men because you don't believe. You will not accept the gift. You will walk in your two cylinders. In weakness, in defeat. You will die like mere men, you will fall like every other ruler. Rise up, O God, and judge others, for all the nations are your inheritance. Some translations say Elohim said to Elohim. Who's Elohim? The triune God, right? Yahweh, YHWH. Name too holy to pronounce. Elohim, they translated. Says to Elohim. There's an account where the Pharisees got hold of Jesus, and Jesus said, I'm the Son of God, and he said, they wanted to stone him. And he said, but it's written that you are the gods. So I you. In your scriptures, why would you stone me if I compare myself with God? You see, the gods, I'm not saying you are now God, but please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is God is in you. God is in you. You have the power to tap in as a son and a daughter of God to overcome anything on this earth. Because he says, I give you power. I go to my Father, I give you power to trample on snakes and scorpions. Whatever I have done, you will do more. But you've got to get out of your two-cylinder mentality and start taking the gift that I've given you so that you can be sons, gods with small g. Because I am in you and I will empower you to walk in victory. Yes. You see, when you get this kind of thing, miracles don't happen.
Amen.
Because Paul said, oh, that would be less of me and more of you. And when it starts becoming more of you, Peter walks down the road and the shadow falls on people and they're getting healed here behind you. Why? Because he's walking in his sonship. He knows who he is. If I come to cast a demon out, I know who is in me, man. It's not me. It is God in me that is going to cast that demon out, and I want to have all the authority to do it because Jesus said, yeah, it's yours, take it. So my question is, what do you believe? You say you believe the word of God. Then show me that you believe. Start walking in peace. Start firing on all cylinders. That's quite a heavy scripture, eh? Have you read it before? Quite powerful. Quite powerful indeed. So, this is your authentication. Where is authentication? This is your authentication. This is who God is saying who you are, not me. Do you believe in that?
Yes.
Because we've established that God can't lie. God speaks only the truth. And He's calling you. God talks. John 10:34 says this. Is it not written in your law? I've just said, no, I told you this one. I've said you are gods. If He called them gods to whom the word of God can and the scripture cannot be broken, what about the one whom the Father set apart as His very own and sent into the world? So let me ask you this. If Jesus is in you, the Spirit of God is in you, and Jesus was on the earth and the Father, the Holy Spirit was in Him, right? And He said, if you've seen the Father, you've seen me. Shouldn't we be, if we've been Jesus and true? If He's in us? Shouldn't we be? If we are God's, chosen by Him, not because of anything that we are. Just said, I'll choose you, I'll choose you, I'll choose you, I'll choose you. And shouldn't we be reflecting Jesus? Good question, eh? Okay, 1 Peter 2:9, last scripture. I'll just read this one. Ephesians 1 verse 3 says, praise be to God and Father of our Lord Jesus, who has blessed us in the heavenly realm with every spiritual blessing in God. They said, you are God's little G, your sons and daughters, and I've blessed you with every spiritual blessing that you do. Because the spiritual overcomes the physical. We've established the scientists say the physical is 10% of everything that is created. The other, if I'm tapping into the 90%, it's more than 10%. So you've been given all these gifts in heaven. You need to go and find out what they want to tap into and receive. You're going to walk in sunshine. Amen? Makes sense? Okay, so you add 1 Peter 2 verse 9. It says there, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of Him who called you out of darkness into wonderful light. What does that mean? Walk around saying, praise God, hallelujah, it's okay, I'm going to have you, always you have you. No. It means you must start walking in power. So people in 2 dimensions can see There's the first dimension. People walking with 2 cylinders can see there's a third cylinder. They're not operating like a vacuum. Yeah? No, it's not that yet. Brian's not working too well. I'm just joking. I can joke because I've got the creator of the universe himself
Amen.
on the video. And he's just awesome. I don't know how I survived. Well, I know how I survived. He kept me. Because I should be dead. So he's saying that you may declare the praises of Him. When you declare the praises of God is when you're walking in power and in victory. You're praising Him by who you are, you being a son. Did Jesus walk around praising God all the time?
No.
Or did He walk around in power?
Power.
So that people saw what He did and they praised God. Wow, check it out. Wow, something's happening here. He has victory here. He has an answer. Something. There's something different. I won't give up my day job. Alright, in verse 11, dear friends, I urge you as aliens and strangers in the world to abstain from sinful desires. They war against your soul. As aliens in the world. You're not from here. You're not from here. You weren't created in Hollywood, you were created in there. Walk in victory. God loves you. I'm telling you, God has brought you here for a purpose.
Amen.
He's going to shoot you out like a flaming arrow here. Shoot into the water where He wants you.
Amen.
Just open your ears. Open your ears. Tap into God. And walk in victory. So Father, we just thank you for your presence here tonight. I thank you for your word. I thank you that you call us sons, my God, and daughters, even gods, because your presence is in us. I pray that we will just open our spiritual eyes and ears that we can tap into you, my God. That all this busyness around us, we can just tap out and then tap out and give you glory through us in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.